This is fun. Thank you,
I
Susan.
know. Oh, good. Good.
It's really cool.
I know. I mean, I really wish you were here physically, but we're, you know, it's fun to kind of see inside her home and studio and yours, and yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's absolutely amazing.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's the main thing too that I found with the Women's Art Organization is just having interaction and support from other artists and exchanging those ideas is super, super powerful. And, you know, back to what Nicole was saying about the emerging artists versus the professional artists. And, you know, people brought me under their wing and helped me along. And so now that I'm about 10 years in, I absolutely, it's the greatest pleasure to me to invite an emerging artist to exhibit with professional artists. So at the Urban Core Artists Project, which, you know, I really have put on hold because it is mostly philanthropy for me and I do need to bring in an income. Right. And so I try to minimize and just do as much as I can without like taxing myself too much or taking too much of my time, which you can do with social media. It's so powerful, you know, like you can just share somebody's profile or you know, things like that. And certain elements of that I've kind of transposed to what we're doing with Objet as well, because I already had that experience with those shows. But just the whole thing is where I'm at at this point. I just the only way I can explain it is that art is pure magic, and where it's brought me to meet other people and what it's done for me. I'm an artist for life. I just really am appreciative of everything. It's just really cool. Like it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I definitely want to share that with anybody who's interested. Or, you know, you hear all the time people say, oh, well, I can't even draw a straight line, or I can't even, I'm not an artist. And I just absolutely love breaking that stigma with people and just saying, you know, just create. And the type of art that I do make is very emotive. I mean, even if it is just color and texture, depending on my mood that day, the textures could be really rough if I'm kind of, or very smooth and tranquil if I'm really at peace with myself, you know? So it's not political or social, but it's definitely emotive. And so, yeah, it's just, I love it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was saying this to Paul yesterday and to Mark, that if you were to draw a timeline of the pieces of work that you started to create from, you know, 2010 or 2011, and you know, and then an emotional timeline, you know, of things that happened, you know, the highs and lows and different things that feed into and nurture some of the creativity that we realize as well. And I mean, the piece I did behind me is part of a series I did called Out of the Blue, and was probably the saddest time in my life. That was in 21 years ago this week. So I would have lost a sister, and myself, my husband's marriage broke up. So that was a very heartbreaking time. But out of all of that, the painting that I did, I would be a colorist. I love you know, using color, and I would be very much into using very, very strong colors as well. And I paint in oils, and now more so, the pieces are much smaller and much more abstract, but there's a slight color, you know, a figurative quality in them. So this piece here, for example, I know what you can see.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So my background in painting and ceramics, so you can see some of the textural quality on the paintings as well. So they would be quite you know, this idea, I did a whole series called Emotional Landscapes, feelings and emotions, you know, at the time. And these were part of the series I had on the barge, you know, this idea of making marks. And but the palette changes, you know. It's usually I talk about colors colliding and accidental collisions, and then these other pieces of I'm just working on this piece at the minute, and I keep going back and stopping and changing, you know. And then there could be a corner of a piece that I'm really interested in that I might decide I'm going to do an enlargement of that. and I could paint over this tonight and be unrecognizable. And in here, you know, so you see little figures, little people. Called the lullaby trees. And I had a series of exhibitions. The first solo exhibition I had was called "What a Ways of the Mind," which I was brought up along the lake. And Enniskillen is an island town, so the whole idea of the waterways are very important to me. And so then I would have had sound effects and all this kind of ethereal quality and mermaids and all of this. But the other thing as well is that the idea of just making marks and music, and also yes, I know I thought I'd lost my train of thought because I was painting on my own, obviously, and you're kind of in a lockdown. And I was joking earlier on the month before this all happened. I was saying that I was under house arrest because I was going to Oklahoma. I couldn't talk to anybody because I had all this stuff to do and all the rest. And the paintings that were to go over to Oklahoma were all parceled up in a big box in the garage. But then I kept saying, oh, they're not good enough, they're not good enough. But anyway, so then I got into this big speed wobble, you know, where I just thought, right, I'm going to paint all these, you know, loads of smaller paintings. And so I got into mass production, and then I stopped, and then I thought, oh my God, you know, thank God, I don't have to go to Oklahoma, so nobody will ever find out. So the place is sitting there a mess, but I'll go back in again. And then there's another piece that I'm working on, which is part of a small exhibition. It's an exhibition of invited women artists. And it's in response to Yeats's poetry. Every year, I'll show you the one that I did do, but they're invited a number of female artists, and they have to choose a piece of work. This gives you an idea of the piece I did. But it's a nice size. It's a nice size.
Yeah.
But and I'm part of a group. We have an exhibition, an annual exhibition called 1 Foot Square. So so it's a good idea. But I'm trying to think now if I can show you this. I need to put on my glasses. But anyway, about the lullaby tree. So I was painting in preparation for this exhibition, and I got completely lost and really feeling quite low. And then I decided I would drive down to see my family, my brothers and sisters, and I live on a farm. This was now years ago. And we went down to the back fields, and I wanted to get some trees that I wanted to paint as part of the exhibition. So I brought those into the exhibition as well. And I called them the lullaby trees because they look like little wishbones as well. So I did this idea of having these little wishbone trees. So they're kind of like a little symbol I have in my work. So they're part of that series. But this one here I'm going to show you was that one there. Sorry, this one here. This one here. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
And it's called, ironically, it's called Powers and Empires Pass Away, Radiant and Unconquerable. So it actually could be really appropriate now given the time. But I don't know whether you can make that. They're like little figures that are rising up.
Yeah.
You know, and the poetry that we were asked to refer to was work by Eva Gore Booth. So I mean, some artists have done, you know, like figurative work. You know, some have done very kind of, you know, landscape type pieces. Others have done really, really like abstract. And then you could have somebody who does, and I think this is a very powerful one here, the pomegranate. But it could be a heart, you know. And then you've got this piece here, you know. So but
that reminds me.
The beauty about this, there are 95 women artists. It would remind, yes, 95 women artists whose work is represented in this.
That is so cool. I would love, is there a website dedicated to that, or is it just the book?
There is, yes.
I would love to see more.
The gallery is called the Hamilton Gallery. But it'd be lovely. It'd be something that Object Trouvé could do actually as a theme, you know, to throw it out. But it's a beautiful size. You know, they have this little booklet, and it's dedicated to St. Bridget. Well, no, this one. Yeah, this one. This exhibition was. So again, this was interpretations of St. Bridget.
Mm.
So again, but it's a lovely, lovely idea. But they're all women artists. You
Wow,
know,
that's really great.
Is Hamilton Gallery in Belfast?
no, it's in Sligo, and Sligo is about 40 minutes drive from here.
Okay.
And I've been involved in a number of exhibitions there, and then there's another. I'm involved in a number of different collectives, and I create a number of exhibitions for festivals and things as well. And I'm just thinking the one that I had. Oh yeah. Let's show you. I think I have it here. And it was an exhibition on a barge. Hopefully I have this in this one. I think I have. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The exhibition was called Precious Cargo 2. So I had the exhibition on a little barge. It was tiny, and I mean little small pieces of work. I'll show you the first painting. This is a painting I did. I've lost two sisters to suicide, Christie. One 20 years ago, and one 3 years ago when I was diagnosed with cancer. So it's just heartbreaking. So you couldn't write it. I feel I've been tested several times, you know. So everybody goes through crises and everybody goes through tough times, but that's not how I'm defined, if you know what I mean. But I'm going to show you something.
Susan, I like that idea. Since we started talking about the conceptual shows, it might be kind of fun to issue a challenge to all the member artists,
Right.
A response to what is happening. And then, you know, like OVAC has the 12 by 12, and maybe, you know, it's something small, maybe it's an 8 by 8 or anything smaller than 12 by 12 or something like that. And something that is affordable for people right now and easy to ship.
Love that.
And, you know, I think it could be really fun because my response to this pandemic isn't ugly.
Yes.
It's making me want to paint color. It's making me want to do things that I've locked away for a long time. And I don't know, it just might be kind of fun to issue that challenge to the artists and see.
Well, I think actually to do something on a smaller scale is less intimidating.
Yeah.
And I love the title that you had for one of the Small Wonders, Susan.
I love that.
I think that was a beautiful title. And this idea about you talked earlier on as well, Christie, about you know, precious things and seeing the beauty. We've got to hang on to the hope and the beauty of what we have around us. And it could be the colour of a flower or a daisy or a dandelion. You know, the beauty that you actually see. And there's a beautiful thing. If you Google it, it's called the Japanese bowl. I think I've sent it to you, Susan, on WhatsApp. And it's you know, the Japanese principle of when the bowls they deliberately crack, you know, smash the bowls, and then they repair them with gold.
Right.
So the idea is that our scars and our cracks are the precious things. The challenges and the sadness and the losses and gains are all. It's all part of our wisdom. I feel very, very strongly about that. And I know that, I mean, these pieces I painted behind me, I painted at my saddest time. And yet the colour and the vibrance, it was not, the exhibition was called Out of the Blue, but it was not meant to be a sad, it was actually celebrating life and energy and all of the rest. And not everybody needs to know your story either. Do you know what I mean? So this is the first painting. This is the first painting I painted after my sister died. I went on a residency, and I called it Rebirth. And it's funny too, because there are things sometimes that we create accidentally, and we call them beautiful collisions. And you know, even in my own artist statement, I refer to that there are pieces that I've created in that you would have no idea, you know, they're not meant to be sad or doom, gloom and despair. They're meant to be uplifting and energy and all of that, you know. So I think you could very easily play on that idea of something small. And the thing about it as well is that in the what the Hamilton Gallery do, they don't frame the works. They travel to America as well. It's part of an exhibition that they do. So you'd have to do it slightly differently, you know, because they have to give people credit for that's the one thing I'm really concerned about in art, that it can be the plagiarism. You know the way, like literally there's nothing to stop anybody, Christie, downloading your profile, downloading your work and ripping it off. You know, there's nothing to stop, you know, and there's something for me that is very cautious about. I mean, I don't have a website. I have solo exhibitions every couple of years. I choose very, very carefully where I want to exhibit. But there's a shyness in me and an introvertedness in me that doesn't want to expose too much.
Sure, yeah, I've had that conversation with other artists too, and I have friends that are artists who refuse to be on social media, refuse to post their work online for that very fact. What I've found in my own art practice is that I can't copy myself. And it's almost like a fingerprint. It's our identity. It's like I've discovered, because I ran into a plagiarism situation here in Oklahoma City. There was a person that was following me on social media who lives in Oklahoma City, and had been commenting and liking on particular posts. And it was one of my series, which was born out of a tragedy. And it's a very heavy impasto. I don't know, I'm gonna have to look for an example of it, but I call it Sugar Mountain. And all of a sudden, I start getting phone calls from people, like 10 different people in Oklahoma City saying, Christie, this girl is trying to rip you off. And when I say trying, she was trying, like she literally was trying to use the same colors and trying to do it. Now, she doesn't have my recipe and she is not me. So I didn't feel threatened, because the art to me, yes, did it look similar when you put the two together? Yes. I did contact her and I said, you know, you're kind of missing the point here. You know, it's taken me years to develop this and get to this point, and it's been a journey for me, and that's the whole point of it. So if you want to go and just copy somebody's work, if you're doing it for learning purposes, that's one thing. But, you know, if you're going to copy somebody's work and you're going to try and sell it and claim it as your own, that is an infringement. And so I let her know that there would be a cease and desist if she continued. She said that her inspiration came from God, and she had a bunch of other things that she was saying. But, you know, deep down, when I went back to my social media feeds, she had removed all her comments and all her likes on my pages. So I really hit that issue face to face, and coming through it, I kind of wish that I never would have acknowledged her at all and just continued with my art journey, because it injected so much kind of like negativity. And so I wish I never would have challenged her, and coming away from it.
But the good thing about that, Christie, is that there's always learning in the good and the challenging things as well.
Yeah.
And also too about claiming your space, and also in terms of the gallery, and also in terms of other exhibitions that you're running. You know, this is something that, you know, when you look at Susan, what you've invested in setting up, you know, Objets Trouvé and all of that, you know, there is advice out there about copyright. There is advice about how you manage the port and all the rest. And also there is an issue too, an ethical issue about loyalty to yourself, the commitment that you have. And, you know, people are, you know, we're all inspired by someone. There's never rarely. It could be a completely authentic and inspirational moment that we all had, like a eureka moment. But others have had eureka moments as well. And it's only when you're in the conversation with other people, like, oh my God, that's exactly what I was thinking at the time, and all of the
Collective consciousness.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I you know, and the thing about it as well is that we also get inspiration from you know, the artists that would have inspired me, the Irish artists, the international artists, all would have inspired me in terms of, you know, ideas, suggestions, and all that. But the reality is that we all put our own spin on it, and I know it within the education system. I would have taught in schools and in lectured at university level, and taught in a male prison as well. So I am well aware of part of the technical competence of building skill is to look at other artists' work, study how they create, you know, their pieces, you know, refine the skills and all of that as well. And then there is an opportunity to have a launch pad to do your own thing. And I think there's an element of, you know, confidence in making your own work, removing a lack of suspicion, because I think that can block the creative process. But I think it's naive to assume that can't happen or won't happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
and then coming away from that situation now, reflecting on it, you know, it actually helped me to go through that situation, because I know that I can't reproduce somebody else's work, and I can't reproduce my own work. I have had commissions where I've tried to create the piece similar to the original, and you get down to the 5th and 6th version of it, it doesn't even look the same as the original. So it's really, really, really hard. I mean, of course, there are people out there who are doing Rembrandts and Van Goghs, and, you know, they're doing a really good job. But for somebody like me, I don't have any problem sharing my process or what I'm doing, or what a lot of artists call me and ask exactly what mediums I'm using, what brands. I have absolutely no problem sharing that information with anybody. I think it really helped me realize that it's okay to put my work out there. If somebody is going to try and rip me off, good luck. And they may do a better job. There's a woman in Australia, and it's with this same particular style of painting. I have to find an example of it. I can send you a screenshot maybe. But it's a very heavy impasto and very repetitive style. And you know, I started working this way, and I've never worked this way before. My brother had a surgery, and I just needed to focus, and that repetition and that style was something that I really felt that I created. And the funny thing is that like 10 years later, I'm still working in this series because I get commissions. I'm finishing a commission this week because, you know, some people really like it. And so, and it's a great way for me to paint, because I don't have to really think so much. It's just color and it's repetition, and it's very tranquil. But I discovered maybe about a year or so ago, I ran across a movement that started in the 70s called Dansekwa in Korea. And I look at this work and I think, oh, there's that collective consciousness, because what they're doing is exactly what I'm doing. And I thought I came up with it. So 30 something, maybe more years ago, these Koreans, and they're all men, but that work is really kind of the work that I'm drawn to doing. And I just discovered it about a year ago, but I've been doing it on my own anyway up to that point. So it kind of all just, you know, it just kind of, again, opened me up to the fact that, you know, number one, you probably didn't invent anything. And if you did, yes, it's going to be ripped off if it is a good idea. And
that's you know, the phrase imitation is the greatest form of flattery. You know, that it's a compliment as well. You know. But no, it seems as if you're definitely in the right place and the right headspace in terms of what you're doing, and you have many talents and many skills. And certainly, I mean, to think of, you know, I know Susan, we've talked about this before, but the idea of the small wonders and the smaller, you know, the smaller pieces. But I know that the pieces now that are in these sort of exhibitions, price-wise, vary. And if you go onto the Hamilton Gallery website, I think I might have sent it on to you before, Susan, and it's based in Sligo. And you know, but I suppose really their piece, the piece that we've had to do are 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters. I'm actually working on one at the minute, working on this at the minute, and you can see some sort of figures kind of emerge out of it, you know. But I could end up doing it this way or that way. You know, the way it depends. I've painted over so many paintings and put the signature in different places. But my aim is to finish this if I can. But sometimes I just think, no, I'm not going to go into that space, and I'll go into it, you know, again. You know.
Noelle and Christie, I'm just conscious of time, and we're now at 1:13 Central Time. And I just want to thank you both for taking your time to visit with one another